We remember him as Professor Lupin, the compassionate teacher who gave Harry Potter his first true defense against the dark arts lesson. We remember him as Moony, the last loyal marauder, and a hero who fell protecting the world he fought so hard to belong to. But when James and Lily were murdered, when Sirius was imprisoned and Peter betrayed them all, Remus Lupin was the only one left standing, and that survival was his curse. Lupin was not defined by his lycanthropy. He was defined by regret, a haunting, corrosive sense of guilt that shadowed his every choice, every relationship, and every moment of happiness he desperately tried to grasp. Today, we dive into the psychology of Remus Lupin. We will uncover the 3 moral burdens he carried and why he was the most tragic passive participant in the Marauders' darker actions. This is the dark secret of Moony, the biggest regret of the Marauders.
Remus Lupin's story starts not with heroism, but with profound shame. Lycanthropy, the werewolf curse, was the great separator. It barred him from society, from jobs, and from stable relationships. For Lupin, Hogwarts wasn't just a school. It was the only safe harbor he had ever known, granted only by the radical kindness of Albus Dumbledore. This sense of being fundamentally broken, an outcast who had to constantly hide his true self, created an overwhelming desperation for acceptance. When James Potter and Sirius Black, 2 charismatic, wealthy, and unapologetically confident boys, offered him unconditional friendship, Lupin didn't just accept it, he clung to it. That friendship and the acceptance it represented was more vital to his psychological survival than his own moral compass. This desperation led to the greatest paradox of his life. The most gentle marauder was a silent accomplice to their cruelties. His constant need to be one of the boys meant he had to turn a blind eye to every arrogant, selfish, and outright abusive action James and Sirius committed. He saw the Marauders' map as a tool for connection, a way to ensure he was never alone during his transformations. But he refused to see it for what it truly was, a tool for tracking, pranks, and, crucially, bullying. This is the first layer of his regret, the cowardly choice to exchange his moral clarity for social belonging.
Let's talk about the most damning evidence of Lupin's moral paralysis, the systematic torment of Severus Snape. Lupin was the intellectual and emotional ballast of the Marauders. He was the one with the insight, the empathy. He could have and should have stopped them, but he never did. Why? In the Order of the Phoenix, Harry sees Snape's memory. James and Sirius publicly humiliating Snape. When Dumbledore later confronts Lupin about his role in the bullying, Lupin's defense is weak and telling. He admits, "I'm ashamed of it, but I never did anything. Peter and I kept quiet." That silence is not neutrality. It is complicity. Lupin's greatest failure was allowing the toxic contract of friendship to define his behavior. He convinced himself that as long as he wasn't actively casting the curses, he wasn't guilty. But by failing to challenge James and Sirius, he validated their behavior and fueled their arrogance. He chose the easy path, the path of belonging, over the difficult path of integrity. This same moral weakness extended to his failure to recognize Peter Pettigrew's betrayal. Lupin was constantly grappling with the shame of his own illness, which consumed his focus. He was so preoccupied with being accepted and hiding his own secret that he entirely missed the true secret lurking right beside him, a secret that cost his 2 best friends their lives. He was too close, too desperate to believe in their loyalty to see the cold, hard reality of Pettigrew's cowardice. The legacy of Lupin's self-loathing reached its peak when he met Nymphadora Tonks.
Tonks offered him unconditional love and acceptance, the very thing he had always craved, but this time without moral compromise. Yet, he initially rejected her. Why? He saw himself as contaminated. He was too old, too poor, too ill. He was terrified that his lycanthropy would be passed on to their child or that his unpredictable nature would ruin her life. This rejection wasn't about protecting Tonks, it was a punishment of himself. Lupin believed that a man so morally weak, a man who failed his friends, and a man cursed by blood did not deserve happiness. His fear of hurting Tonks was merely the expression of his deep-seated conviction that he was unworthy. This internal conflict provides the deepest layer of his regret. He spent his life avoiding the pain of rejection only to reject the possibility of true, unreserved love. And finally, his end. Lupin's end in the Battle of Hogwarts was framed as a noble sacrifice, fighting side by side with his wife's family. But was it also an unconscious seeking of absolution? By dying in battle, fighting for the cause that his childhood friends died for, Lupin finally paid the price for his years of silence and cowardice, ultimately finding the peace that life never afforded him.
Remus Lupin is the tragic answer to the question, what is the cost of silence? He was a good man, driven to act poorly by profound insecurity. He was never the villain, but his life serves as a chilling case study on the moral responsibility of friendship. By choosing to be passively accepted rather than actively moral, he became paralyzed by a regret that lingered long after the worst of the Marauders' actions. Lupin didn't carry the physical scars of his curse, but the deep, invisible scars of his own complicity. He was truly the loneliest and most tormented Marauder. Was Lupin's silence a failure of friendship or a necessary coping mechanism for his condition? Let me know your thoughts on Moony's guilt in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe to unpack more complex characters.